we all dealt with something that I think many of us who have been in the business cannot believe we actually did. The Herculean effort to make this transition to remote learning, I mean, so quickly, a couple of weeks, people who had never even thought about teaching online were all of a sudden forced to do that due to the global pandemic. What role has OLC played in help supporting this unprecedented shift?
Oh, absolutely. And AJ, thank you for saying remote learning, because that's one of those points that we've been trying to make, that, in many ways, many of the people who did shifted to remote learning and not necessarily true online learning, right? But OLC has been trying to offer opportunities to help educate people who are making that shift, who haven't experienced this in the past, to help them as they're looking to create a positive learning experience for their students. So we've had a number of webinars that we did right off the bat back in March, April, May timeframe. We did we created a whole new event for the pandemic. It's called Ideate. And Ideate has continued to grow, where originally it was one event, free, and open conversations that we created. But because of the popularity, we offered another one in August, which was specific to STEM. We've got another one coming up in December, and we're planning more for next year. And again, these are free events that we're creating and adding so that the community can have those places to have conversations on how you could improve that remote or online experience. We had a website of resources, which I think you saw many organizations put out there, but where to go for more help. On top of that, we've had an unprecedented number of institutions, countries, organizations come to us for help and consulting. And so we've been very involved in that respect. And then our professional development, of course, has been very popular this year. One thing we did do is go back to our roots, the Sloan Foundation, and asked them if they would be willing to fund some workshops for individuals, especially at minority serving institutions who don't offer a lot of online learning. And they were very gracious and gave us money that we have been able to use this year for scholarships. And so we've had a number of individuals come to us for that as well. And I think all of those things, are helping the community to improve remote and online learning.
This isn't intended to be a plug, but I've been to several of the conference events, and we've had you here for one of the conference events, and I can wholeheartedly recommend any of the events for folks who are looking to get, but it's not just that, it's the other resources, and I'll give you a chance at the end to talk about where people can go to find out some more information. But sure. What do you think are the big differences? We sort of hinted on this, remote learning versus online learning. What do you think are the big differences we're seeing in both approach and practice to online learning today?
Right. I think what we're seeing today, with the pandemic, as we're doing online learning, you may not have that intentional design behind what's happening with online learning, but that is what online learning has evolved to, that there's intentional design put into it. People are using the course design rubrics to help determine what needs to be included in a course that's going to be offered online, and it's going to be offered in a quality manner, and it's going to best serve the students. And I think that's one of the biggest things we've seen change over time. When I first started teaching my first online course, I think I taught it probably in 1996. And what I saw back then compared to what we can do today it's night and day, right? I mean, we were doing a lot of things asynchronously back then, a lot of text-based. Today, we're able to incorporate so many different types of media into an online course. And I think that makes a huge difference. Although, I'm very cautious when I tell people, those different types of media are good, and they're important to being able to reach different types of learner, but we need to make sure that whatever is being done in an online environment, we're not using technology just for the sake of using technology. We're doing it in an intentional way, and we're making sure that students' learning outcomes are still being met. And that, I think, is the key, and one of the things that we really look at with online course design as well.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I guess this is sort of a, what do you say to people who say online learning puts students at a disadvantage?
I think that it depends on how the online learning has been designed. I have seen online learning that puts students at a disadvantage, but it also happens to be a course that was not well designed, that is maybe put out in a way where the teacher, the professor, is not engaged in the process as well. I think when you look at the engagement level of the professor, it makes a huge difference. Now, there are fully asynchronous courses that are available that can still be very successful way to deliver learning for a student. But again, you have to intentionally design it in such a way to make sure that there are still touch points, still ways to engage the learner. We actually have a score called the Quick Tip, the Quality Course Teaching Instructional Practice, and that includes a lot of those tips for teaching an online course and what needs to be included. I always go back to teacher presence, teacher engagement, because just like in the classroom, it's important for a student to know who their professor is and to be able to engage with them. You need that in the online environment. I can't tell you as an academic administrator how many times I would have a student come complain about their teacher, their online teacher, and I'd say, "Who's your teacher?" And they would have no clue. I mean, nobody's ever had that happen, right? But yeah, they have no clue who that teacher is. And part of that has to do with the fact that maybe the teacher wasn't engaging with them. So they didn't take that time to welcome their students to the class or participate in discussion forums or share some of the research they've done in the area of whatever the content area is. So those are all good ways to kind of build that teacher presence and build the engagement between the teacher and the student.